I'm Makini Smith. In 2009, while going through a divorce, I decided to jump straight into entrepreneurship. In 2012, I lost my sister and asked myself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? Since then, I've become a serial entrepreneur, helping other women publish their books, produce their podcasts, and reach their big goals to walk in their greatness. I realized the importance of sharing our stories of resilience and how it can be another's guide to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. We are blessed to be a blessing, so get ready to be blessed with an inspiring testimony.
Hey, Legacy Leavers. Thank you for joining us in the Walk My Stilettos podcast, the top 1.5% most popular show globally, where we have conversations with extraordinary women that are letting us step into their shoes. I help women to own their voice, to create impact, prosperity, and legacy. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but what interests me more is her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. So since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. Today we have Kamshuka Barrocks. She's a mother of four, a wife, a certified wellness coach, mindfulness practitioner, author, and international speaker. Kamshuka is a war child survivor who continues to disrupt old patterns of thinking and encourages her audience to consider the quality of their thoughts. She's the founder of the Conscious Warriors, a wellness platform that focuses on self-love, healing, and a roster of coaching services and products to add to your own wellness toolbox. She's an advocate against human trafficking who spent time in the city of Kolkata, India, to rescue women sold into sex slavery. Kamshuka has been recognized as one of Canada's women making history and has been featured on CBC, Voyage LA, Voyage ATL, and much more. She's also been seen on Uganda's national network of NTV as an empowered woman of power. Please welcome to the show, Kamshuka.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and share your story with us.
Thanks for asking because it's powerful. I know how powerful your presence is, and I'm just excited for this conversation.
It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we're here now.
Yes.
So, as an icebreaker question, I love to ask women where they started before they got to where they are presently, because I believe that, as children, we have these vivid imaginations of who we want to be and what we want to do when we grow up, and, all those big fantasies before society and culture starts to limit our beliefs and put those limitations on who we can be. So I would love to know, what did you want to be when you were a little girl, and what were you like as a teenager?
This is some really deep questions. I'll start with, what did I want to be as a little girl? Because of the circumstances that I grew up in, my first thought of who I wanted to be when I was young, when I was 4 years old, was I was actually in the middle of war. So, I'm a war child survivor of the Ugandan war. And in those moments, my dad would say, close your eyes, just think of something else, and he said to me, think of yourself bigger, think of who you want to be. That is something that my father had said to me in those times, just to distract me from the gunfire and the surrounding sounds. And of course, I'm in the middle of war. So the first thing that came to me was, I want a world that has peace. Currently in that moment, my family was separated. So I wanted my family to be together. And I thought, when I get older, I want to be the person that brings peace and love. And I want to find a way to heal the world. I mean, I'm young, so I'm not saying it in all those ways, but I knew that I wanted to be a part of bringing the world together. I didn't like how I felt in that moment. So for me, I've always wanted to add to the world. I didn't know how. And of course, I had no idea what my future would look like, but I knew that whatever I chose, it would have to be something that was like a glue, that held things together. And that was quite a burden as a child, but that was also my first initial thoughts of who I wanted to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, okay. So before I even ask you to, unpack and tell me more,
Uh-huh.
as a war child survivor in the Ugandan Civil War, it led you
Yeah.
down a path of PTSD and self-harm and
Yeah.
depression. Like, was that all when you were a teenager?
Yes, absolutely. Because from the time, my family was separated and then we were reunited 3 years later. I did grow up in India where we were separated from our mother. And when we reunited as a family, we were in the Middle East. And those years were like paradise, because my family was together. There was no war. Everything was going great. And then the Gulf War happened in 1990. And that was the second time I encountered war and confusion. And so we were there as a family during the Gulf War, but as soon as it was done, my parents were so sure they wanted to move somewhere else, and that was to Canada. And, as cold as it is here, it came with a rush of confusion. And it had me asking myself the question, why am I here? I don't want to be here. What it feels like to go to a new place, and there's a new school, and there's bullies, and people don't understand who I am and where I'm coming from. I don't even understand myself. And so I was literally bombarded with probably what was the biggest war I've ever faced, and that was those thoughts, those negative, you know, missions that I felt closer to. I felt dark. I felt like I didn't know who I was. Self-harm seemed to help in the moment because I was so used to being afraid, and everything that I ever felt and suppressed and blocked and forgot about as a child after we reunited with the family, it all just came back. And it was the biggest war I faced within my mind.
Wow. I've done some work with teenage girls and had to,
Mm-hmm.
do some research and understand when it comes to, things like self-harm and them, the way that they
Yeah.
cope with depression and the negative self-talk
Mm-hmm.
and the heaviness. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's a lot of people, whether it be, our generation or older, that don't understand the pressure of those things. And it's really that the inner pain is so
Mm-hmm.
heavy that the self-harm is almost like an escape from the inner pain.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine, what you experienced when you were younger. So how did you get through that? Like, tell us the story of how you got to where you are today, making a difference,
Mm-hmm.
well-being and mindfulness. Like, share that story.
You know, I think it was in the moments where I felt separated from my body. And I have to say it this way because, as a teenager, when everything rushed at me, I was so confused. There was too much going on within my mind. I couldn't understand my body. I literally did not know who I was. And harming myself was good in the moment. And then after, I felt worse. And I became very suicidal. In fact, it became a thing for me. Every week I would try, and every week I would not be successful. And it just got very frustrating that I had to still be here. And as much as I coped by, you know, I got into a lot of trouble. I would get into trouble with the law. I would, have to sit in boardrooms with my parents, a room full of police officers, yelling at me and telling me what I should have not done. And I'd have to think of my friends that, ran and left me with, it was just too much. And every week it became an obsession for me to try to take myself out. And by the time I was 18, I would say almost 18, I got very tired of trying. I was tired of living. And now I was tired of trying to die. And I just remember sitting on my bed and just feeling hopeless, feeling like I wasn't even good enough at killing myself. I wasn't even able to end this. And I couldn't find why the question kept coming to me, why am I here? And I think it's in that brokenness that I don't remember how it happened, but I saw myself as a little girl. It's almost like the little person in me, the little girl that went through the war, that was coping, that was hiding, that was covering and blocking these memories. It's like I saw her and I looked at her and I just broke down and I cried. And this time I wasn't crying because I was upset because I was here. I was crying because I felt like I owed her so much. I made some promises to her. And I remember the moment when my dad said, think about who you want to be when you get older. I thought about that moment and how I said, when I get older, I'm going to be part of, making this better. I'm going to be a part of the solution. And that's who I wanted to be. And I realized that I thought, what I thought in that moment was this little girl appeared to me and I saw myself outside of my body. And I thought, I owe you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird when I think about it now because after all these years, I realized that little girl, my inner child, me as a child, actually saved me. And when I look at myself now as an adult and what I'm doing, it was a journey. It wasn't overnight. I battled with those thoughts of seeing myself in my younger self, and my tears and my brokenness, it's almost like it got to a place where I was now thankful for still being here because I didn't realize how far I had made it, even through those storms. And I faced them by myself because, the generation before us, they didn't talk about things. Leave alone even thinking there was an issue. My parents were ministers and they prayed everything away. And this is not one of those things, you could pray away only. And so it got me, it actually put a strange urgency within me to rise up. And I think it was in those moments where I chose life that allowed me to see myself outside of a victim. Because all along, I was looking at the war I faced, how my mother left us, how we had to live in India for 3 years where I was sexually abused. I was looking at all these things that had happened to me. And that's all I could see. I saw shame and disgrace. I saw dirt. I didn't see me. And when I saw my little self appear to me, it's like I saw myself in the pureness of who I truly was. And that's where I began the journey of, if I'm going to live, I want to live a full life. And I think my determination, it shifted. Something shifted in my mind. And I thought, I wasn't good at even killing myself. I wasn't good at dying. That's for sure, because I was still here. So what if I put all this energy into living and living my best life? And I think that's the drive that kind of got me moving forward into especially even into where I am right now, and to being a wellness coach.
Was there like an aha moment where that shift, like sometimes, something drastic happens or there's a major emotional shift because of the situation that I guess forces us to change direction with our thoughts. Like, was there a moment in particular that you recall?
Yes. Though I had several moments, but I think it was the moment where I realized I didn't have to think the way I was thinking. I didn't have to see myself as a victim. I never thought of that before. I just thought, even when I went to school in high school, I just thought, well, they'll never get me. They'll never understand me. I have so much. And I've been abused. I've been verbally abused. I've gone through war. I've gone through some of the worst moments. And also having to protect my younger brother. So I didn't, I saw myself in such a horrible way that, I thought that's how people looked at me too. That's what they
Mhm.
saw. And I was very timid. I was tall and skinny, but I had no such thing as confidence. That was not a garment I wore. So I think it was when I realized I didn't have to live like a victim. I had to
Mhm.
make that shift for myself because the whole time I kept seeing myself, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I would just see ugly. I would see all the I would see the journey, and it would be so dark
Mhm.
to look at myself.
We project our inner securities, outward into the world, like what's happening
Mm,
on the inside of us. Our outer world is a reflection of that. You're
yeah.
talking about when you used to get in trouble with the
Mhm.
police and getting yelled at
Yeah.
for doing the things that you were doing that you probably didn't even want to do. But like,
No.
there's a
Yeah.
huge gap between what we know and what we actually do,
Mm,
and it's
yes.
because our subconscious mind is so powerful, the feeling
Mhm.
mind, we don't realize that even if we know better, because of
Mhm.
our feeling mind and how strong our inner thoughts are and our inner emotions,
Mhm.
it
Yes.
affects our actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I knew everything I was doing as a teenager I didn't have to do, but it was like self-harm, self-destruction. I was going straight
Mhm.
towards it, and if you said no, I was going to do it just because, not only because I was daring, but also I had nothing to lose. I was okay with losing me.
Mhm. And now you've transformed into this woman with, 4 beautiful children. You've been married for what, 20 plus years.
Yeah.
You're practicing mindfulness and conscious living.
Yes.
So it's a complete shift from where
Mhm.
you were, and totally understand the amount of work that would have to go into that, the amount of inner work.
Mhm. Yes.
I'm certain, as we all are, you're still on that journey. So
Yeah.
what are some ways that people, can
Mhm.
make some conscious choices so that they don't go back into that captivity phase?
Yes. Exactly. It's the choice to not be a captive. Not to be
Mhm.
held captive to your own thoughts of yourself and who you used to be, or um, I think it was when I decided to challenge my intelligence when it came to my patterns and my thoughts. Questioning things. Why do I do this? Why are
Mhm.
we not allowed to do this? We grow up with immigrant parents and parents from other parts of the world, and they say a lot of things, and we are not allowed
Mhm.
to question them. We're not
Mhm.
allowed, and we should be questioning. And I think that's the part when you're conscious because you want to know. What is this about? Like, why do we not do this? What can I
Mhm.
change about my programming? And being conscious and living consciously requires us to constantly be in challenge of our programming and our thought patterns.
Mhm.
What we knew last year, what we did last year, even years ago, last month, might not be the same thing that's necessary or required in the following months to come. So we get stuck in these routines, and like you said, society has a way of saying this is how it should look. This is
Mhm.
what you're called, this is what it's supposed to be. And that's where the problem is because we get stuck in these routines. And then when change happens that we don't plan on, we're a mess. I get thrown off really big. And so I don't like that feeling. And I understand change is
Mhm.
always going to be there. But I want to not that I want to be in control, but I want to be a part of my choices, not that
Mhm.
these things are just happening to me. So I start my day with prayer and meditation. And that has, been such a huge way of starting my day in silence, focusing on the visualization of the meditation. Like I said,
Mhm.
when my father asked me what I wanted to be, I closed my eyes. I imagined. I saw myself. I saw this woman who I am today. And that was powerful for me because it gave me something to look forward to and also visualize where it is I want to be. So starting my day with meditation, visualizing in my meditation, and also focusing on what it is I want. That is a very conscious way to start the day. Like you said, I have 4 kids, and I do this so they can do that, and learn and build upon it too, because we are not going to be victims of these circumstances. I'm an ambitious woman, but I'm ambitiously fierce when it comes to not being the victim. And so starting the day with meditation and prayer and really focusing on how mindful I can, prepare myself in my day helps me be conscious with the choices I make throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. You spoke to, growing up with immigrant parents, and, a lot of the guests that have come on are also, first generation, whether it be Canadian or American. And we all seem to have this similarity with, I'm going to say, old school parenting. The old school parents, their way of parenting was more about control and fear.
Yeah.
And, they did the best they could with what they had, with what they knew. But now that we have all this information on, being able to support our kids through trauma, to be, have compassionate parenting, be more understanding, empathetic, patient, a lot of the qualities that old school parenting didn't have.
Right. Yeah.
So, as a mom of 4, how do you think, well, I guess, how do you parent differently?
I decided, of course, I have 2 older ones. I have 2 teenagers and I have 2 younger people, and they're 10 and 8. And the first 2, you know how it is, the trial children. So, I was still going through a lot of my traumas and trying to understand my healing process. So I definitely was going down the wrong way. But awareness is so powerful, and that's a huge part of being conscious. When you're aware, like you hear yourself. I don't think our parents heard themselves in a lot of the things they said to us, right? They probably even forgot what they said to us. And if we bring it up now, they may never remember it. But one of the huge parts of how I've decided to parent is to hear myself, to make sure that I'm not comparing, because that's easy place to be when you have 4 and, or multiple children. It's easy to say, well, your brother was doing this, or, why do, and I don't want to do that. So I'm very conscious to be awareness, and also understanding that the people and the environment that we are in affects each person differently. So what might work for my teenage son may not work for my teenage daughter. It's almost like my children have had to be, in some ways, my projects, because I have to learn who they are. I have to see, their triggers, and it's my job to understand them differently from each other. So I give each child, what they deserve, or even show them that, you may respond emotionally different than your brother, and that's okay. Give him the space. My 8-year-old is like, she's not only she the boss in the house, but she's very chaotic. Just with her response, with everything. It's not even drama anymore. It's just chaos. And so I try to explain to the older kids, when you're trying to say something to her, she cannot hear you, because all she has inside of her is chaos. You have to allow her to get to a place where she's calm and she's, in a space where she can understand. And that is something I wish I received, as a child, because it's, when there's so much chaos within you, someone yelling or giving you instructions, it's just not coming through. So I literally try to do the
your own thoughts.
Exactly. Exactly. So I try to do this differently, and I just try to be aware. I did study my mom's patterns and how she raises, and some of the things, she has apologized for in her age now, and some of the things she just doesn't see it. A lot of fear
Mm-hmm.
driven, like you said, um, I may never be able to get that apology, to be honest, and that's okay as long as
Mm-hmm.
I allow myself to not repeat these cycles. That's what's important to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, you spoke to awareness, and I think that is key. I'm going to say a few years ago, like the common phrase was woke, but it's really just about being aware.
Yes,
Awareness
yes,
awareness in ourselves, awareness in our parents, awareness in our children. And
yeah.
when you take a step back and
Mhm.
look at situations and people and try to come from a place of understanding,
Yeah.
then it's much easier to
Mhm.
interact with them. It's when
Mhm.
you're, aware of yourself, much easier
Yeah,
to give yourself grace. So I
absolutely.
think awareness is a big, big piece. And you being
Mhm.
aware of, your parents' patterns and how you used to parent versus how you parent now is
Mhm.
very important because you can see the differences so that you can do better. Because when we know better, we do better, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so true.
Like, how has being a mother changed you?
It has changed me in so many ways, but I think the biggest thing of all is it has allowed me to have this constant mirror in front of me. you know, it's like, oh, look at yourself. Remember how I said, it was hard to look at myself growing up. I didn't see myself with all the confidence and beauty, and self talk wasn't a thing for me. It is very important to me now with my affirmations and all of that, and I still have to consciously take myself to a mirror. But when you have children, they're literally constantly the mirror, and they're a
Yeah.
reflection of me. I see myself. It's almost like I get another chance through my children. It has changed me because it's
Mhm.
allowed me to live a full life in who I am and who I was designed to be, but also to see myself outside of me. I've always said this, that it's not that my children are my why. I am my why. But I now also get the opportunity to see the reflection of myself and to make a better choice, to make a different choice, to give them the
Mhm.
information. It's so powerful for me to be able to, talk to my daughter and say, I understand this time of the month. It's no good. I get it. You want to, light something on fire. I understand the rage. I get it.
Mhm.
But also, this is also what's happening within you. This is a divine moment where this powerful thing is rising up within you in your womanhood and in this journey. So I get to say and have conversations with my children that I never had. So it's changed me
Mhm.
because I'm not only speaking to my children. When I speak to them, I'm reviving me. I'm reviving myself and preparing myself for the next dimension, the next phase of who I'm going to be. So it's
Mhm.
powerful to have these people around me, and they're like from me. So I get to see myself in different ways.
Right. I totally agree with you. Like, I have 3 kids, and when you said that they're like a constant mirror, I I just had to hold my head because, just like you were, in the beginning
Mhm.
when you're younger, you have, the older children, you parented them a
Yeah.
little bit different because you didn't know any
Yes.
better. And then as you evolve and you become more aware, you
Mm.
notice.
Mhm.
But what I've
Yes.
noticed as I've become more aware of myself and more understanding with my children is like
Mhm.
they are amplified mirrors
Yes.
of
Yes.
different parts of me. And each one of
Mm.
them has a different amplified
Yeah.
character trait within me. So when I want to get
Oh,
frustrated with them, it's a lesson for me to take a step back and say, this is
yes.
you amplified.
Right. Oh, it's so powerful. Like, who needs Marvel, right? Like, we're here, like, breathing species that are like ourselves, but on times like a million of who we
Mhm.
were, who we are. So it's powerful when you really think about it, and it's also very humbling. Like, oh,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, let me calm
Absolutely.
down.
So what would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is the ability to be calm in the chaos. Um, that's not something I've had the capacity for in the past, especially when I think of myself as a teenager. Physical wars and mental wars, I was the chaos, and I went out of my way to be the chaos in relationships and, in every way. And to now be calm, to understand the awareness of my capacity and the power that it has is very powerful for me, and very it's a reminder that I've come a long way, because it is not, I was the girl that was ready to fight, and now I just want to love everyone. Don't get me wrong, I have my moments where, a thought will come in and, like, fight me. But now it's like, I find it funny, it's humorous to me. And I think in the calmness, I've learned how to find the joy in life. And so I really am a keeper of my peace, at all costs. I won't let anyone rob it. There are people who try, and I realize, as upset as I can get, or as off as it takes me, I still have to find a way to bring myself back.
Right.
So it's the ability to be calm in the chaos.
I love, when you spoke to the difference of, who you used to be, the old version of you versus the present version, because I find the more that we do the inner work, the more that we focus on healing, we can see the difference of our old self that had to die in order for us to become our present self. So, when you talked about the old you was more like a challenger, like fight me. And the present version of you is like, let me love you.
Yeah.
I totally get it, because I can see the same in myself, where, the old version of me, I was ready for the challenge. My tongue was sharp. I was ready for you. I think the present version of me values my peace and, prioritizes freedom and love and connection. So it's like, instead of me looking at, I guess, projecting my inner hurt, it's now, how can I prioritize peace? How can I be an example of love to this person who may not have received it elsewhere?
Exactly. No cop back here.
Yeah. So with the pandemic, I know that for a lot of people, it either forced them to pause, forced them to pivot, and for some people, it accelerated what they were already doing. So I would love to know, like, what has your journey been like since the pandemic? How has it affected how you serve?
It's definitely amplified the reason I'm here. And I didn't see that, the first month. I didn't see that the second month. I was trying to understand what the run with the toilet paper was also. I was like, what does this really do to you? But at the same time, I was also low-key panicking, because I've been here before, with not so much the Ugandan Civil War, but during the Gulf War, we had to stock up. We shopped, and we loaded up our houses. We had to get gas masks. We heard missiles go over. So we were in lockdown. They didn't call it that, but we were in our house for months. And so that kind of rushed back at me, and the fear hit me, oh no, this is happening again. What is going on in my lifetime, And then I realized, I get a second chance to do this differently for my children. The fears they have were, what everyone was fearing. And I get to tell them that maybe this is going to be different. Maybe this is good for us, within our house. So I started to, not that I didn't feel the fear, and I didn't feel everything that was happening because I am an empath. So I felt everything. I felt all the energy. But I decided to ask myself, what is it that you wanted to do? You've been setting yourself up for, online in that way. So why wouldn't you take the time? Like I do a lot of self-talk, a lot of good and bad. I challenge myself now. And so for me, I decided to run with it. I thought the world has never paused before. This is different. We're all together. We're in the house. I have to now deal with my children's emotions. I have to deal with their wellness, At the same time, I have this ability that I've been waiting to use. I've been, it's like this power in my hand. And this is an opportunity to do that. And so I was very nervous. Being in front of an audience is my energy. I get my energy from my audience. So I love being on stage. I love having a microphone in my hand. I love feeling people's joy and laughter. I love them looking at me on stage, and we have this interaction. It's so powerful. But now we have a computer screen, and I knew I had to launch my master classes, but I was nervous because it's like, what's going to happen? How is this going to happen? How are they going to feel my soul? How are they going to feel? And it was nerve wracking for me, and it took me months before I actually did it. And as soon as I decided to take that leap, so it did challenge me, but it also amplified what was within me and gave me the opportunity to, see that it's not about always physically being somewhere. Because, even with that, the social anxiety was getting to me. So I had a lot to work through when it came to just being outside. But I learned that, when you have a message, when you have something that has been deposited, an assignment that has been deposited into your soul, your spirit, if you hold on to it, it will hurt you. You have to let it out. And so, as hard as it was to do that, to do the first master class, people signed up, people were coming, but, it was very different doing events online, but I just took the challenge. I took the challenge and I saw how it had me growing in a different way, in a different space. So it did propel what I already do, but it also challenged me, and it still challenges me. So I'm liking the feeling of constantly growing and evolving, but also realizing that it'll only come with the challenge, and low-key, I kind of like being challenged. So I'm here for it, but it's like I'm scared, but I feel like when I'm afraid of doing something and I do it, not only am I proud of myself, but I know I released what was within me, and that's a better feeling for me.
Yes, I love that. Naturally, we're all, I'm going to say, uncomfortable with change. Some of us will admit to the fear, some of us may not, but it's all a part of the change. All change is uncomfortable at first, but once you work your way through it, it's beautiful in the end. Once you figure it out, that's where the rewards are. So I love that you were able to do that. So before we go to the final segment of the show, I want you to tell people where they could stay connected with you online to learn more from you and about you.
Absolutely. I try to keep it really simple across the board. So Coach Kamshuka on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on all the social media platforms. And I also have my website, The Conscious Warriors. I am the founder of The Conscious Warriors, and that is a wellness platform that people could, go to and just pick and choose what they need for their own wellness toolbox. And you can contact me on that website or on social media. I keep my, pages open in that way. And when my capacity is full, it may take me some time to get back, but I will eventually get back. But Coach Kamshuka is how to find me. Just type in Kamshuka in Google and it'll bring you somewhere.
Awesome. So I will definitely have the links to your website and your social media in the detailed section of the episode so they can connect with you directly. They won't have to search too far.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the final segment of the show, I call it a walk in her wisdom. I ask a couple of quick reflection questions and you share, just some inspiration from your walk. It's kind of like a rapid fire. So, if you can keep your answers to either one word, one sentence, sometimes I may ask you to unpack because I don't like rules.
I love it.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. When and where are you the happiest?
On a plane.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
Fake it till you make it.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Just be yourself.
What failure has taught you the most about life? Like, do you have a favorite failure?
Falling. Literally falling in my heels.
Okay, say more.
So this is always a thing. Even as a child, I was always teased because I didn't have good balance and so on. So as I got older, I love my heels. I walk good in my heels. I look good in my heels. But there are moments where God will just be like, it's time to humble. And I'll drop and I have no idea. But I remember I had an event to go to. I was passing by the Hard Rock Cafe in Toronto where it used to be, Yonge and Dundas, and I had these stilettos. They were so beautiful, and I don't know what happened, but I think it got stuck in a crack, and I literally just fell face to the ground. And everyone jumped over the patio at the Hard Rock Cafe to come and help me, but I was already down, and I didn't know if I should maybe just play dead, wait till the ambulance came, or just be like, oh, I'm okay, and it happened too fast. I got up, my shoe was broken, so I'm limping. And my girlfriend, she had an extra a pair of shoes, so she brought me the shoes. I went inside to the event, and I was actually getting an award. I went up there, I got my award. I did it so well. And at the end, I had this guy come up to me and say, "Are you okay? I saw you fall from the window." I was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna live with me." So, so falling, it happens. I'm a warrior, so it's okay. I've embraced falling as a failure because even when you're down, you get the opportunity to eventually get up.
Love that metaphor. Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's something that most people value that you don't?
Brand names.
All right. Name a book that has changed or greatly impacted your life.
Touched by a Diva by, I can't remember her name. That was the very first book I read that was like, whoa, I could be this woman. It was actually a book it was almost about the modern day Proverbs 31 woman.
And last but not least, what do you wish women would do more of?
Spoil themselves.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Kamshuka, for not only sharing your story, but all of your gems with us. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. I'm grateful we were able to have the opportunity to have this conversation. Thank you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for what you do and for who you are. And it's your resilience that has really motivated and empowered so many women to know that they can move forward and they can do what they do. And, life gets busy, things happen, and I'm just glad that we had this divine moment and we were able to do this, and I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I truly appreciate you. And to all of you legacy leavers out there, until next time, subscribe on all platforms, and don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. And if you could think of 3 women that would receive value from hearing Kamshuka's story, please share it with them. Feel free to screenshot this week's episode, and you can tag us on Instagram. You can tag her at Coach Kamshuka. You can tag myself at The Real McKinney Smith, and let us know what resonated with you. And continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.